So you're given some information about a situation. We're looking at a video game rental store. They charge $25 just for the membership, and then you have to pay $2.50 every time you rent a game. Okay? Do you think that it's going to be a direct or partial relationship? Okay, this is our clue. There's a membership price. So we know that on the graph it's going to start at $25. Even if you don't rent a video game, you still have to pay a membership fee. So where would it start on the graph? 0 what? 0, 0 or 0, 0, 25? Good. So just by giving this information, let's answer the first question. What is the rate of change? How will this graph change every time you rent a video game? $2.50. That's how the graph changes. Every time you rent one video game, you're going to pay $2.50. So we can say $2.50 or $2.50 over 1. What is the fixed charge? What's the initial fee that doesn't change? $25. Excellent. So how would you write an equation to represent this relation? Okay, we're going to say we're looking at a relationship between cost and what? What's the relationship? Cost, total cost, and think about what the rate of change is. Yes? Game rental, good. So maybe you want to use the letter C in your equation and what? G, sure. So which is what are we calculating? Are we calculating the game rental or are we calculating the total cost? We're calculating the total cost. So cost is equal to what? How do you calculate how much you're going to pay this video game store if you're renting games? Equals 25 plus 2.50 G, or is this also okay? C equals 2.50 G plus 25. Yes. Either of those are fine. It doesn't matter what order you write it in. So raise your hand if you got one of those two equations. Now that you have the equation, can we calculate what is the cost if we rent 15 games? So where are you going to plug in that number 15? Yes?
25.
So remember, G stands for the game rental. So now we're told that the game rental is 15. So I'm going to use my equation. C equals $2.50 times G. So instead of writing G, what am I replacing that with? Times what? 15 plus 25. And you must calculate this first. You must multiply first. Remember BEDMAS?
Yes.
If you wrote the equation the other way, it doesn't matter. You still have to multiply this together and then add it to 25. So what's 250 times 15? What's 2.5 times 15? I want to do it in steps. 37.5. That's if we rent 15 games, but then we still have to pay the $25 membership fee. So what is the total cost to rent 15 games? $62.50. Good. We talked about this already. Is this direct or partial? Partial, and you guys already predicted that beforehand. How do you know it's partial? Because it does not start at 0, 0. It does not start at the origin. So where does this one start? Let's just give some more information. Where would this graph start?
25.
Starts at, what's the coordinate where it starts? Not 0, 0. It starts at 0, 25. Excellent. How else do you know it's partial? It has a fixed charge. Automatically, if you know it has a fixed charge, you know automatically it's not going to be direct. It's going to start at something else. Okay? And finally, does it have a constant rate of change? Does it change by the same amount every time you enter a video game?
Yes.
Yes. So if it has a constant rate of change, that also tells us, that's one way of telling us that the relationship is going to be linear. If it didn't change by the same amount every time, the graph will not be a straight line. So this actually tells us it's going to be linear, and we know it can't be direct or partial unless it is linear. So there's two ways we can find the rate of change. One is by counting on the graph, and two is by using the formula. You need to memorize this formula for tomorrow. So let's start with the formula. Let's pick 2 points on the graph. Any 2 points. I want you to put a dot for the point that you're choosing. Pardon? Picked 1, 4. I'm going to call that A. That is a point directly on the graph. 1, 4. Good. And what's another point that's easy to read? Yep. 4, 7. Let's see. Good. 4, 7. We'll call that B. Okay, and we're going to label these X, Y. X, Y, we'll call this 1, and we'll call this 2. I want you to plug them in and calculate the rate of change. So we're subtracting our Y values. 7 minus 4, good. 7 minus 4 over, this represents the vertical distance, remember? And you can look at the graph. 7 minus 4, right? Over what? What's the run? 4 minus 1. Does everyone understand that? This is a review. You should all know how to calculate rate of change by now. What's 7 take away 4?
3.
And what's 4 take away 1?
3.
What's 3 divided by 3? So the rate of change is 1. This graph changes by 1 over 1. Let's look at the graph and count. Does it go up by 1 and over by 1 every single time? Look at your graph and draw a triangle for each point. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Is that true? Yes, so this is the rate of change. Where does the line cross the y-axis? So that means where does the line start, basically? Where does the line intercept the y-axis? Here's your y-axis. Here's your line. Where does it hit the y-axis? This is called a y-intercept. It intercepts at 3, which we can say is 0, 3, correct? Yeah, so it crosses the y-axis at 3, so it starts at 0, 3. We're going to use the variables y and x to come up with our equation. Remember, you always put a variable with the number that represents the rate of change. That is your value that's changing. Your fixed number, so your initial value is the number that does not have a variable next to it because it does not change. So I'm going to give you a clue of how to write the equation. It's going to say y equals something. We have the number 1 and we have the number 3. And we're going to use the variable x for this equation. 3 plus, 3 is the fixed rate. That does not change. That cannot have a variable with it. What is the rate of change? 1 x. Okay? Raise your hand if you got that. Y equals 3 plus 1x. That is the equation. So, what does y equal when x is 25? So we're going to use the equation. Y equals 3 plus 1. Instead of writing x, I'm replacing it with what? 25. So now calculate it. What is this equal to? Shania?
25.
Yes, 3 plus 1 times 25 is 25. What is 3 plus 25? 28. Here's our equation. Y equals 3 plus 1x. What is the rate of change? Is it 3 or 1? 1. What is the fixed term? Is it 3 or 1?
3.
3. So I'm going to put that there so that you can compare that to the equation. So now they're saying if this relation, if the rate of change increased by 3 and the fixed term decreased by 2, can you come up with a new equation?
Yes.
Y equals something plus something x. I'm giving you a clue.
Yeah.
Let's say this is the fixed term, and this is the rate of change. So the fixed term was 3, and now they're saying it's decreasing by 2. So what is it now? 1. And now the rate of change was 1, right? But now it's increasing by 3. So what's 1 plus 3? There's our new equation. Y equals 1 plus 4x.